name is Noah Arjomand. I'm one of the 3 directors of Eat Your Catfish, which is a documentary, a very personal documentary for me about the last years of my mother's life with ALS, a motor neuron disease. And it's kind of about how the disease and her disability transformed our family relationships. Well, it's always a slightly difficult movie for me to watch myself, even though I've now seen it many, many times. Even just at the level of the kind of sensory experience of the film. So hearing all of the sounds of her voice that was mediated through a computer, and hearing the sounds of all of her equipment, it kind of transports me back to 2015, 2016, when I was living with my parents and caring for her, and when some of the alarms that you hear in the movie and the different sounds would in a way kind of trigger me to feel like it's it's an emergency that I need to deal with or something like that. So just at the level of kind of the sights and sounds, it affects me a lot.
My name is Catherine, and 5 years ago I was diagnosed with ALS. It's like watching yourself getting hit by a bus in excruciatingly slow motion.
I'm not a private person at all. Yeah, I don't have any kind of problems or shyness about sharing myself or even my family in not such a positive light. I suppose I was worried to some extent what the members of my family especially would think of the film. Well, I've been surprised by how many people with very different experiences can relate to the film. So both people who have family members or they themselves have completely different types of disease or disability issues, but then also people who just have experience maybe caring for an elderly relative. I've heard so many times that, your relationship to your sister that I saw in the film, that's exactly the way me and my siblings are. She's the one who's always there taking care and always getting into fights with my parents, and I'm the one who lives in a different city and then comes and can make things nice, but then I feel guilty as soon as I leave. So there are a lot of things that it's been interesting to me how much resonates with people who actually have very different experiences as showing something that's kind of universal or very common in terms of like the patterns of family relationships. Almost all of the film is shot with a camera that's mounted on the back of my mom's wheelchair and kind of looking out from just over her head, almost from her perspective with this wide-angle lens. And we did that for a few reasons. One was that we almost wanted to make the viewer sitting in their chair in the cinema feel like they were my mother, like they were almost inhabiting the same space in the world that she was, as people kind of came and talked to her and tried to help her or argued with her, this kind of thing. And then the other advantage to filming with that way is that we didn't have any crew present. There was nobody pointing a camera, pointing a microphone at her, standing in our apartment. And so it allowed us to capture some very natural moments of the family, because the camera ultimately just became kind of part of my mother's equipment that she was always surrounded by all the time anyway. And so I think to a great extent we were able to forget that the camera was even there, and what you saw was really the way that we interacted with each other, and we weren't doing it for the camera. I tend to remember the things that I'm ashamed of first. There was always the easiest things to pop into my head. And so, I think maybe in my own memory, I'm hard on myself. And so it's nice to be reminded of some of these nice moments that my mother and I shared that you saw on screen. My own memory has been almost filtered through the film that I've worked on.